Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. The day has finally arrived. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And today, we're going to take an advanced look at this behemoth of an omnibus. We're looking at the Immortal Hulk Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So, join me. And welcome back, everybody. That's right, you've seen this book on my shelf for a while now. It's been a little over a month since I got it, and people have been asking me when am I going to do an overview, and I like to do the overview of Omnis the week they come out, so it's fresh on people's mind, but people have asked me if I could do it sooner. So what I'll do is I'll take a poll on YouTube and see when people want the Omnis video releases, whether it's the week they come out or the week before, maybe 2 weeks before. I don't like to do like 2 or 3 months before or even a month before, because then by the time it comes out, you know, it's kind of forgotten there, the video. But anyway, I'll do that. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on August 15th or 16th, depending on where you get your books. On the left-hand side is your direct market cover. Now, both of the covers are done by Alex Ross. The direct market cover is only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, wallscomicshop.com, readscomics.com, comicsbugle.com, Organic Price Books, Dime Breed Collectors, In-Stock Trades, Tales of Wonder, and places like that. But the standard edition is available everywhere. Underneath the dust jacket, everything is the same, so let's take a closer look at this omnibus. So you have this amazing image. I love this. Don't get me wrong, I love the Alex Ross headshot of the Hulk, but this is just something savage about him. And yeah, you may see the Savage Hulk in there. Here we have the credits: Ewing, Bennett, Jose, Bravo, and Mounts, and the greatest run in the history of the Incredible Hulk. Wow, that's saying something, because he's had some great runs. Here we have the Marvel logo up at the top, the Marvel Omnibus logo, the Immortal Hulk, and then Ewing, Bennett, Jose, Bravo, Mounts, and then that image of the Hulk. We have this green pattern wall, like a brick wall back there. And then witness the full horror of the Hulk. Exceptional, the strongest superhero comic there is. Wow, this is getting a lot of praise, and rightly so. It's getting a lot of praise, and rightly so. I've talked about how much I love this run on the channel for a few years now. And here it tells you what it's collected, and the retail price being $150. Rated Teen Plus. And this one here has 1,616 pages. So it's a big book. It's bigger than what was solicited because they added the Gamma Flight miniseries in here. Now, this has been available before in a series of trade paperbacks. And I'll talk about what's not collected in here in case you have the trades and you want to keep the stories because you need to have everything in collected editions. I get it. And in a series of 5 oversized hardcovers. Now, we'll go ahead and tell you that there are more issues collected in here than these. These collect primarily the 50 issues, plus a couple of the one-shots, but this actually contains more. Alright, and for the people wondering where to put this book if you have all the other oversized hardcovers and omnibus editions, I'll put it right after the Red Hulk Omnibus, because that's the way it fits in chronological order. So thank you so much to my wonderful viewers that have suggested that I still do that show where I put these books on my shelf. Alright, now, underneath the dust jacket is this amazing image from Alex Ross himself, who did every single cover and then some variants on top of that, which is just insane. And what is all this monstrosity going on? Why are the skies green, and are those eyes up there? Well, we're going to be opening this book up soon. We're going to be looking at the art. We're going to be talking about the stories. Now, for anybody that bought this on a blind buy and you've loved everything Al Ewing has written, by all means, skip to the part where I talk about the build of the book. Because I do have to talk about some spoiler stuff, but mostly in the first story arc, or first and a half story arc. But believe me, there's still so much more awesomeness in this book that you are still in for a ride. I just want to answer some questions that I've been getting over the years whenever I did an overview of the trade paperback or I did an overview of the hardcovers. People were just asking me questions about particular characters or what it means. So that's kind of what I want to do with this overview. I kind of answer some of those questions along the way, but like I said, but mainly sticking to like the first story arc, maybe a little bit of the second story arc. But believe me, with 50 issues, there's still a bunch in here to be surprised about. Let's go ahead and start that. Before we open the book up, I did want to show the flaps over here. Is he man or monster, or is he both? Excellent question that might be answered by the time you get to the end of the book. The creators, a little bio on Al Ewing here, and Joe Bennett down there. And let's open this big boy up. This thing is thick. Thick. My gosh. Here are your credits. I had to stretch the spine 7 times. I had to stretch it out like 7 times. And then even when I was reading it towards the end, I could still hear a little bit of the crackling in the glue. So it's a big one. Here are all the credits. Al Ewing writing most of the book. And I say most of the book because like Crystal Frazier helped write the Gamma Flight miniseries. And then he gets a couple of other people to help him throughout here. There's one issue in particular that's a flashback issue to, oh gosh, it's such a good issue. And since I'm mainly talking about the first few story arcs, I can't really show what I'm talking about, but it's a flashback issue to the Bill Mantlo and Mike Mignola era and the Peter David era. So we kick it off with Avengers 684. Now, I said that I was going to give you the premise of the story, and that's why I warned about spoilers. But I also have to talk about this era of the Hulk and why he's called the Immortal Hulk and how all of that gets started. So, how will I say it? Well, the Hulk has been dead for a while. He's been dead for a while during this particular time. He died in the pages of, Civil War II. You can go and read that by yourself and find out how great or not great that story is and find out exactly how he died. But he is reborn in this particular issue that's contained in here, and that is the Avengers issue 684. And that's what's collected in here, and that's what kicks it off. So I'll talk about the mapping in a minute. But this also collects Immortal Hulk 1 through 50, Immortal Hulk The Best Defense, Defenders The Best Defense, Absolute Carnage Immortal Hulk number 0, Immortal She-Hulk number 1, King and Black Immortal Hulk, and then the Gamma Flight 5-issue miniseries. You also get material from the whole Immortal Hulk Time of Monsters one-shot. So, if you're worried about the mapping, it's great. The way that they have those one-shots in here fit perfectly where they belong. And it does help that Al Ewing was writing those too. Gamma Flight is all the way in the back, but Gamma Flight isn't really to be read when you're reading Immortal Hulk. It can be read at any time, especially after the first story arc, so I'm glad that they kept it out of the continuity, or I'm sorry, not continuity, but out of the flow of the issues here. So, let's talk about the main story. Let's see what the hook is. Why everybody's talking about this. So we meet this young man named Tommy. Each issue, by the way, starts off with a quote. And like I said, Bruce Banner's been dead. He just came back as the Hulk. And we're going to find out exactly how his powers are changed. So this young man named Tommy is walking in, looking all sorts of suspicious into this gas station, this Roxxon gas station, where he is going to rob the gas station. Now, he's freaking out. He looks completely like a novice at doing this, and he panics and gets trigger happy when he hears a sound and accidentally shoots this 12-year-old girl. Now, we see this guy right here, whose eyes are turning green, so you know this is the Hulk, and the Hulk in the past has always been able to stop Bruce Banner from dying. Civil War II. Yeah, anyway, in the past, the Hulk has always been able to stop something bad from happening. We've seen that in the pages of Bill Mantlo's run. We've seen it in the pages of Bruce Jones' run. And in Peter David's The End book, where pretty much Bruce Banner is just done with living. He throws himself off a cliff, and Boom, he changes into the Hulk because the Hulk wants to keep Bruce alive. In this, so this guy shoots this little girl and he shoots Bruce Banner because he's freaking out that, hey, we've got witnesses. Shoots him dead. Shoots Bruce Banner dead. Hulk does not get out and transform. What the hell? So then the clerk also ends up getting shot. And later on, we meet this reporter here with this private investigator. Now, this reporter, this is really cool, especially for people that were fans of the Incredible Hulk TV show. This is Jackie McGee. And Jackie McGee is obviously an homage to Jack McGee, the reporter from the original Hulk 70s TV show. And I love that about this book. There's just so much to talk about in here. So we go to the morgue, and that's where we see the body of Bruce Banner, and he's turning into the Hulk. Now, in this first issue, we see that Tommy, yes, he's a scumbag because he shot all those people, but he has his own story. Like, he's not able to pay the electric bill, so he borrowed money from this group or this gang of bikers, and they're all just horrible people. And of course, the Hulk comes in here. And this is a really, frightening part of the book. And I was hooked from issue number 1. Tommy pulls his gun out, and he's, like I said, a novice still at doing all this. So he goes into this house, and that's where he runs into the Hulk, looking all savage and just huge. And all the Hulk says is Sandra Ann Brockhurst. That was her name. And he's talking about the little girl that Tommy killed. She was 12. From one spread page to another, just zooming in on his face. Oh my gosh. So, in this particular issue, you find out that the Hulk is still in control. He's a smart Hulk, but he's still in control. He doesn't lash out because what he does to Tommy is beat him to a bloody pulp and break every bone in his body, pretty much condemning him to a life of just sitting there in a hospital on life support. So here we get a little more background on the character of Jackie McGee. She's there talking to this investigator, and she wants to go and find Bruce Banner, the Hulk, because not everybody, the whole world doesn't know that he's alive. During this time, like I mentioned, everybody thinks he's dead because of the events of Civil War II. Then we end up in the hotel room where Bruce is just looking into the mirror, and the big guy is just smiling back. Now, that's probably metaphorically, but maybe, because you do get that motif of doors throughout here. So, the second issue is another issue that is a standalone. That's what I loved about the beginning of this run. It's a standalone issue where Bruce is just going to another town. He hears of the mysterious deaths of people just going to dying because they're visiting people's graves. And as he finds out, he recognizes something from the graves. And when he goes to the graveyard, he recognizes immediately something from the graves. He recognizes that they are leaking out gamma radiation, like strong gamma radiation. And of course, that's what made him turn into the Hulk to begin with. So as he investigates, he finds out that there's this guy named Dr. Fry who was doing some experiments on his son and himself, and anybody that's around him is pretty much dropping dead because of the gamma poisoning. There's a horrific image in here of Bruce just climbing into this cave. The third issue is one of my favorite issues because this is one that's done in 3 people are telling the same story, right? From 3 different perspectives. Again, a quote at the beginning, and it's all about this guy named Hotshot who has powers through gamma radiation. You hear the story through the bartender, the cop, and the old lady. And they all tell a different side of the story, but it's still up to Bruce Banner to come in here and not really solve the problems, but kind of do away with the problems. And man, it goes into some dark territory. By the end of this is where Jackie will not be alone in her search for Hulk. She's greeted by this gentleman right here. This is Walter Langowski, and of course he is, let me see, I think it shows here. There he is. Sasquatch from the pages of Alpha Flight. Now, he tells her a little bit of background about how him and Bruce Banner were roommates in college, and he was a big jock, and like a football jock, but wanted to always study gamma radiation because that's what Bruce was studying. It's actually pretty funny how they went back and forth, and Bruce was like, wait a minute, gamma radiation is my thing. You're a football player. I found that to be pretty funny. So together, both of them go on a journey to go and find Bruce Banner. Now, he's looking for Bruce for answers, and she's obsessed with writing a story about him. And I haven't really talked about Jackie because she's a really interesting character. Jackie's obsessed with the Hulk. And in the first story arc, you're like, okay, yeah, we get it, but it makes no sense why she's just really like trying to find him. She has her own story. And there's a reason why she really is trying to. Yeah, she's a reporter, but there's also personal reasons as to why she's trying to find him. Now, the story of Walter is really important in this because we start talking about this green door. We actually started seeing hints of it earlier on, especially in the second issue. And here it gets a little more in depth as to what this green door could be. Now, Walter, in the pages of Alpha Flight, has always been able to turn into Sasquatch. In the early issues of Alpha Flight, it was revealed that it wasn't really the gamma radiation that turned him into Sasquatch, but rather that the gamma radiation opened up this green door, or a door rather. It wasn't a green door. It was just a portal to another dimension where this creature came. And through time, what was the creature's name? Is it Tamarack or no? That's Tanarak. Tanarak. It was a Tanarak. Through time, he was able to control the Tanarak, and that's why he's able to inhabit the Sasquatch's body. Like his mind is still Walter's mind inside of Sasquatch, not the Tanarak demon. Now, in here, it goes a little more in depth because it talks about how the door was green and he opened up this portal with the gamma radiation. So it wasn't really the gamma radiation that transformed him. And this is where it gets really interesting because they go and try to find him. That fourth issue is another issue that doesn't really have the Hulk in it. It has both of these characters just kind of getting to know each other. And what ends up happening is they both go into this bar to ask questions. Walter gets caught in the middle of this bar fight and gets stabbed, presumably killed. He gets taken to the hospital. Jackie takes him there. And finally, Bruce Banner shows up. And Bruce Banner's like, you've been looking for me. Well, I'm here, and I'm here to ask what exactly happened to my friend Walter. And she tells him they got into a fight. He's dying in there. And then eventually he codes and dies. But not before turning into the Sasquatch. So this is where he tells Jackie to get everybody out of there because something awful is going to be changing because it's nighttime. Now, what we haven't talked about is the change in the Hulk. Remember when in the first issue when he got shot, he didn't change immediately. That didn't trigger him. What triggered him was the nighttime. So the Hulk comes out at night and Bruce Banner is walking around during the day. So that's a little bit of a change, but also it's a throwback to those classic Silver Age issues. Really, the Rage and all that stuff wasn't established until about a year after he had appeared. This goes back to those classic stories of nighttime is Hulk's time. But there's also another reason for that goes back to, let's just say, Bruce Jones era. All right, so here's where they get into a fight because when Bruce approaches Sasquatch, he realizes that it's not Walter in there. There's something else controlling him. So Sasquatch just cuts his throat and that turns him into the Hulk. Now, that doesn't mean that every time Bruce dies, he turns into the Hulk. It just means that at nighttime is when the other guy comes out. And that's exactly what Sasquatch says. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the real you. And that's when they get into this huge fight. Now, Hulk realizes that it's not Walter controlling Sasquatch anymore. Someone else is in there running this body. And he thinks it's a demon. It's back to the demon, the Tanarak, but it's not. And this is where it gets interesting. So when Hulk looks in a mirror, again, metaphorically, a window rather, he sees the reflection of Sasquatch, and it's this guy right here. Now, if you don't know who that is, don't worry. Al Ewing immediately fills you in, and Hulk just says, Daddy. Right? Not Bruce Banner, this is Hulk. And he starts having flashbacks of his abusive father, told through the pages of Bill Mantlow's era, and really doing a deep dive of the relationship between his father and his mother and Bruce Banner, but also handled really well in the pages of Peter David's Hulk. There's amazing character development there. And I'll be honest with you, when I read the first, I read it in trade, I rolled my eyes. I was like, oh gosh, all right. We've seen him fight his father before. Let's see where this goes. All right, stay with me. So he gets into a fight with Sasquatch. What Bruce is able to do, or the Hulk rather, is absorb gamma radiation. He's absorbing gamma power. And he absorbs the gamma radiation from Sasquatch, and it's going into him. Now, Walter is left there without the power to transform into Sasquatch, and Hulk has now gained this Sasquatch power. It's in him, but it's not alone. Because, again, when he looks at a reflection of himself as he's stepping away, he sees his father. His father is now inside of him. Brian Banner is inside of Bruce Banner. And in the past, Brian was an abusive father. It was horrible. And again, found in the pages of Bill Mantlow's run and touched upon here a few times with a series of flashbacks talking about the issues that he had with his father. So much so that it led to the death of his mother. And then, of course, the final confrontation he had with his father. And that's all through these pages. So you'll see some of the characters appear through here. And it's done really well. You don't need to have read that stuff. Does it help? Absolutely. And you'll feel like, oh, this is definitely going to do this. But I promise, when you think you got it figured out, Al Ewing's like, nope, not yet. Wait until you see what I got next. So now we need someone going after the Hulk, because it's everywhere that the Hulk is back. You have Alpha Flight from space because Sasquatch was involved and he's part of Alpha Flight, which at the time is being led by Carol Danvers. You have the Avengers coming after him now that they know and are aware that he's alive. And then you have these people known as the Shadow Base, all being led by General Fordian. And General Fordian was a character that was introduced through the pages of, oh gosh, what was that? It was a couple of years before this started. I wanted to say it was Mark Waid's run, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. But that means that all these characters are not now coming after him. Not just Jackie McGee. By the way, Jackie reveals her true intentions to Hulk in that first story arc, and it's awesome. And now the Hulk has to live with probably his father being inside of him, trying to control him. And then we have the fight with the Absorbing Man that changes everything. And that's pretty much all I will say. And if you've read these stories before, and like I did, and I did the same thing when I saw that he looked at the reflection of Brian and, his father's inside of him. And I'm like, okay, these two are going to duke it out. We've seen this before. It's still really good, and it's got a lot of horror elements, but how much deep into the psyche of Bruce Banner do we need to get? We've done these things in the past. I was wrong. Because there's still more twists with what's exactly behind everything. And it goes in ways that I didn't think it was going to go. And by the time you're trying to figure everything out, and it goes into this deep psychological, science fiction, spiritual journey, well, then you get issue... Well, never mind, I'm not going to say what issue. There's another issue that just takes you in a different path that you didn't even think you were going to go on. And then I remember reading that issue, and for those that have read this already, you know the issue I'm talking about, and you're like, what the hell? Like, I thought I had this figured out. What are you doing, Al Ewing? And, oh man, there was a reason why this series is regarded as one of the best monthly, like, to take a narrative like that and put it into a monthly series. It was amazing what he was able to do. And Joe Bennett's artwork, my gosh, there's some horrific stuff in here. Everything that people have loved about the Hulk in the past, body horror and existential horror, and then science fiction, it's all in here. I mean, we're talking he's tapping into the past while doing his own thing. Like, you think he's retconning something in a horrible way, and then he's like, nope, guess what? It all makes sense, doesn't it? And then I remember sitting down reading, I think the 4th or 5th trade paperback, going, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's about right. And, oh man, because anytime somebody goes and retcons stories, especially from some of my favorite runs, I immediately think, oh man, here we go again. And I fight it because I'm not the biggest fan of retcons. And then it always feels like it was supposed to be there. If it's done properly and it's done with a matter of respect, which is what he does. And this goes in so many different paths that I was not expecting. And I know I'm not the only one because so many people just kept messaging me or asking me if I had read the latest issues on my Saturday streams. And man, if you've not read this and you stuck around for this overview, even though I went through some little bit of spoilers for that first arc and a half, you are in for a treat because the rest of this goes in ways that you are not gonna expect it to go, and it almost feels like a freaking experience and less of a comic book. And that's what I love about this medium, that it takes me places that I think I've been before, but it just goes a different way, and it takes me there and more. Oh, all right. Enough gushing about this. Let's go all the way to Gamma Flight because I mentioned that Gamma Flight is collected in here. So here are the issues of Gamma Flight, and all 5 issues are contained in the back. And as I mentioned before, the one-shots are collected and mapped properly. It gives you a little synopsis as to what's going on, like in the world of absolute carnage. But this takes place where it needs to as you're reading this and doesn't break the stories up. And it's not in the back, so this is properly mapped. All right, let's welcome everybody back that did not want any kind of spoilers. And look, right after Gamma Flight is where you're going to get the extras, like the introduction from the first oversized hardcover by Jeff Lemire, a little bit of the behind the scenes with the editors, the letter page here, and then the cover sketches. And if you're wondering about the variants, they are back here, but keep in mind, not all of them, because some of the variants are on the opposite page of the standard edition covers. So the ones back here are usually done in thumbnail size, and then you even get those type of variants, the penciled variants. And that's the direct market cover there. Yeah, I don't know how the heck Alex Ross had enough time to do covers for each issue while doing other projects and then do variant covers. That is an awesome cover. And anytime there's an homage to Days of Future Past, I'm in. And more variants, Gamma Flight connecting variants there, and then the end sheets. Now, we're going to look at the binding, and then I'll do a little quick comparison to the first OHC. So here we have 1,616 pages. It is sewn binding, printed at the iMac printer, and there's that eye right there. And that eye needs to be as big as you can get it, because you're going to run into lots of spread pages through here. Here, we're looking at about the middle of the book, and this, by the way, is a vision, so not much of a spoiler, but I did want to use it. And even here, you still get a little bit of gutter loss, and that is due to the way the book lays over. Not a lot, but just minor gutter loss. And I wanted to come back to the beginning here, because I'll do a comparison in this spread page with the OHC Volume 1. But this is the way it lays over. As far as the bleed through, you do get a little bit of bleed through when it's white or really light colors. You get some of maybe the frames or some of the word bubbles coming through a little bit. But even the paper stock seems a little thicker than some of the other iMac books, and it's a little odd because this one is over 1,600 pages. Let's do a little quick comparison between this and the oversized hardcover, and it's mainly that spread page that I wanted to. It's of course looking a little bit different. The introduction, the Jeff Lemire introduction, is all the way in the back on the omnibus. Let's actually, here we go. So colors look about the same. The paper stock they're using in the OHC is just a little bit thicker than the paper stock they're using in the omnibus, not by much. But this is what I wanted to look at to see how it laid over. And even in the OHC, you did get a little bit of gutter loss. And I don't have my trade paperbacks anymore because I gave those away. But just to show the difference, actually, it kind of lays over better in the omnibus, which is surprising considering how many pages it has. But with this, you still have to hold it down. Yeah. I wanted to do one more thing, and that is talk about this book right here. This is the Immortal Hulk Great Power. It's a trade paperback. The stories in here were not collected in the oversized hardcovers, nor are they collected in here. It's just a series of one-shots like Great Power and The Threshing Place and Flatline. And those stories are not in here because those aren't written by Al Ewing. This is primarily Al Ewing writing it with just a couple of other co-writers. But I did want to say, if you want everything, you may want to keep this because, yeah, these are not collected in here. But everything else, oh my gosh, this thing's already huge, right? 1,616 pages. That's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. That was the content, the page count, and build of this book. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking it up, if you've read the stories in here, what you think about them, and if you're going into it completely blind, you skip the part where I talked about some the premise spoilers. Regardless, I would love to know all those answers down below. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button. Wait, don't forget to Hulk smash that like button on the way out. There we go. It's a little better, a little more dad joke there. But anyway, everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.